This is the most dangerous math in modern warfare. Iran can lay 1,000 sea mines in a single night. The US Navy clears about 1 per hour. You do the numbers. That's not days of work. That's months. Right now, as I'm recording this, the Navy's response is underway. American destroyers are creeping through the Strait of Hormuz, hunting for mines that Iran scattered across the shipping lanes. 20% of the world's oil flows through that chokepoint, and it's essentially closed until the Navy can clear a path. Mine by agonizing mine. I spent weeks researching why this process is so impossibly slow, and what I found reveals one of the biggest vulnerabilities the US Navy doesn't want to talk about. After this video, you'll understand exactly how mine clearance actually works, why throwing more technology at the problem hasn't fixed it, and the brutal asymmetry that makes sea mines the most cost-effective weapon in naval warfare. Let's get into it. Here's the core problem you need to understand. Mines don't announce themselves. A torpedo leaves a wake. A missile shows up on radar. But a mine, it just sits there, waiting. It could be floating just below the surface, tethered to the sea floor. It could be sitting on the bottom, buried in sediment. Or it could be drifting with the current. Completely unpredictable. And modern mines aren't the crude metal spheres you've seen in World War II movies. Iran's Maham-3 uses acoustic sensors to listen for ships. Its Maham-2 sits on the seafloor and detects magnetic signatures, pressure changes, even the specific sound frequencies of different vessel types. Some are programmed to ignore the first 5 ships that pass, letting minesweepers go by, and detonate only under the 6th. Think of it like hunting for a needle in a haystack. Except the needle is invisible. The haystack is the ocean floor, and if you guess wrong, the needle explodes. Keep that in mind, because everything that follows builds on this. The original solution was brutally simple. Drag something through the water and hope the mines hit it instead of your ship. During World War II, minesweepers towed steel cables to cut the anchor lines of floating mines. For magnetic mines, they dragged electrified sleds that mimicked a ship's magnetic signature. For acoustic mines, they towed noisemakers. This worked, kind of. The US swept over 15,000 mines from European waters after the war, but the clearance rate was painfully slow. And here's the real problem. You had to send ships into the minefield to clear it. Wooden-hulled vessels with minimal metal, creeping along at walking speed, hoping today wasn't the day their luck ran out. The Navy's Avenger-class minesweepers, commissioned in the late 1980s, still used this basic approach. Wooden hulls, oak, Douglas fir, and Nootka cypress, because wood doesn't trigger magnetic sensors. Each ship cost about $90 million. The Navy built 14 of them. But here's what should concern you. The last 4 Avengers were pulled out of Bahrain in September 2025, just months before Iran started mining the Strait of Hormuz. That solved one problem, keeping crews safe from magnetic detection, but created another even larger one. How do you clear mines faster when the fundamental physics of detection haven't changed? This is where it gets genuinely clever. The modern approach doesn't try to sweep mines blindly. It tries to hunt them individually. Here's how it actually works. 3 core principles. Principle 1. Standoff detection. Instead of sailing ships through minefields, you send unmanned systems ahead to find the mines first. The Navy's Knifefish is a torpedo-shaped underwater drone, 22 feet long, weighing 2,000 pounds. It carries a low-frequency synthetic aperture sonar that can detect mines sitting on the seafloor, even partially buried ones. The drone swims pre-programmed search patterns for up to 16 hours, then returns to its mothership with a map of everything suspicious it found. Think of it like sending a scout ahead with night vision goggles instead of marching your whole army into the dark. Principle 2. Classification before destruction. Not everything on the seafloor is a mine. Old anchors, debris, rocks. The ocean bottom is littered with mine-shaped objects. Before you blow something up, you need to confirm it's actually hostile. This is where remotely operated vehicles come in. The AN/SLQ-48 uses fiber optic cables to transmit live video back to operators. They can examine each contact up close, identify the mine type, and decide how to neutralize it. And Principle 3, that's where the real genius comes in. Principle 3, precision neutralization. Once you've found and identified a mine, you don't sweep it, you kill it, specifically. The Archerfish system launches a small torpedo-like device that approaches the mine under operator guidance. In the final moments, its onboard sonar and camera take over for precision approach. Then it detonates a shaped charge directly against the mine casing. One mine, one neutralizer. No guessing, no collateral triggers. Can you see how each principle solves a specific impossibility? Standoff keeps humans safe. Classification prevents wasted resources. Precision, neutralization, ensures each mine is actually destroyed. But here's the question you should be asking. If we have all this technology, why is the Navy's response still so slow? Because every single step takes time, and the steps can't run in parallel. The knifefish drone searches at a maximum speed of about 5 miles per hour. After each 16-hour mission, it has to be recovered, its data downloaded and analyzed by human operators. Every suspicious contact needs individual investigation. Every confirmed mine needs individual neutralization. Here's something that will surprise you. The Navy's own estimates put the complete detect-to-destroy cycle at about 35 minutes per mine, under ideal conditions. In reality, with currents, poor visibility, equipment failures, and the sheer volume of contacts to investigate, 1 to 2 mines per hour is considered good progress. During the Gulf War, MH-53E helicopters swept 768 square miles of ocean, nearly 8,000 linear miles of search tracks, over several months. They found and destroyed 39 mines total. 39 out of more than 1,000 Iraq had laid. The math hasn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. The Navy learned this lesson the hard way on February 18, 1991. At 4:36 a.m., the helicopter carrier USS Tripoli struck an Iraqi mine in the northern Persian Gulf. The explosion ripped a 16 by 20-foot hole in the hull, 10 feet below the waterline. 3 compartments flooded instantly. Less than 3 hours later, while Tripoli's crew was still fighting to save their ship, the Aegis cruiser USS Princeton hit 2 mines in rapid succession. The billion-dollar warship suffered cracked hull plates, a jammed rudder, and a damaged propeller shaft. Both ships survived, but the Iraqi mines that hit them cost maybe a few $1,000s each. The repairs cost tens of millions. And here's the detail that should haunt you. Both ships were operating in waters they believed were already cleared. One Navy captain later wrote, "We had assumed we were operating in safe waters. The chilling report from the officer of the deck meant we were wrong." Let's talk numbers. A single knifefish drone system, that's 2 UUVs plus support equipment, costs roughly $20 million. The Navy plans to buy 30 systems total. That's $600 million just for the underwater detection component. An Iranian Maham-2 mine costs somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000 to produce. Iran is estimated to have stockpiled between 2,000 and 6,000 of them. To put that in perspective, Iran's entire mine stockpile probably costs less than a single knifefish system. And that stockpile can shut down the world's most important oil choke point for months. Here's another number that should bother you. The MH-53E Sea Dragon, the Navy's dedicated minesweeping helicopter, has the highest accident rate of any helicopter in the US Navy. 27 deaths between 1984 and 2008. The airframes are over 40 years old. The Navy has 28 left, and there's no direct replacement. The Navy bet its mine warfare future on the Littoral Combat Ship's Mine Countermeasures module. After decades of delays and cost overruns, exactly 3 ships have ever deployed with the system. It has never been tested in combat. Now here's the crucial point. The thing that changes everything you think you know about mine warfare. The problem isn't technology. The problem is time. Iran can deploy mines from speedboats, helicopters, even midget submarines operating in water as shallow as 100 feet. Their boats don't need sophisticated equipment, just a ramp to roll mines off the back. A coordinated operation could seed hundreds of mines across shipping lanes in a single night. Clearing those mines, that's not a night's work. That's not a week's work. It's terrifyingly slow. And that's not a bug in the system. It's the physics of the problem. The Navy's own assessments suggest clearing a seriously mined strait could take months. And here's the asymmetry that keeps naval planners awake at night. You don't actually have to sink ships to win with mines. You just have to create uncertainty. Right now, hundreds of commercial tankers are sitting outside the Strait of Hormuz, waiting. Insurance companies have declared the strait a war risk zone. Premiums have skyrocketed. Oil prices have spiked above $100 per barrel. Iran may have laid only a few dozen mines, but the effect is the same as if they'd laid thousands, because nobody knows where they are, and nobody knows how long it will take to find them all. This isn't mine warfare, it's mine uncertainty warfare, and uncertainty clears even slower than mines. As I'm recording this, the USS Frank E. Peterson and USS Michael Murphy, 2 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, have just transited the Strait of Hormuz as part of the Navy's mine clearance operation. CENTCOM announced they're deploying underwater drones, likely including the knifefish, to begin the hunt. President Trump has claimed the US destroyed Iran's mine-laying capability, all 28 boats, he said. Independent verification, still pending. But here's what we know for certain. The Navy pulled its last dedicated minesweepers from the Gulf just months ago. The new systems have never been combat tested, and the strait remains effectively closed to most commercial traffic. One retired CENTCOM commander put it bluntly: a serious mining effort by Iran could really complicate and slow things down. That's military understatement for "we have a problem." So the next time someone asks why the world's most powerful navy can't just clear the mines, you'll know the truth. They can, 1 per hour. In an ocean, Iran can recede overnight. That's not a technology gap, that's a time gap. The Navy's response isn't weak, it's just terrifyingly, unavoidably slow. And time is the one thing you can't engineer around. And speaking of engineering challenges that seem impossible to solve, next video, we're tackling Golden Dome, Trump's proposed $185 billion missile shield. The physics of shooting down hypersonic missiles at Mach 20. The numbers don't seem to work. That video drops next week. But first, tell me, what surprised you more? The clearance rate of 1 mine per hour, or the fact the Navy pulled its minesweepers right before the crisis? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.